Do you know that only 3% of people actually write down their goals, physically write them down on a piece of paper? They have them hung up somewhere where they can see them daily, weekly, whatever that goal is. Only 3% of the population actually physically writes down their goal. So for this week, short and sweet, what do I want your one thing to be? I want your one thing to be to write down a goal. Bob and weave, bob and weave, bob and weave. Howdy. What's going on? You are joining me on the 21st episode of What is Your One Thing? I am so stoked to be here. I am so excited that you're here with me. The podcast is finally able to drink and smoke, even though it's not going to. It's going to act responsibly. How are you doing? How was your Thanksgiving? For those of you that are listening at a timely release, if you're listening to this in the future and it is the middle of summer, how was your last Thursday? I hope it was good, and I hope you had lots of turkey, because I tried to spatchcock this year, and I wanted to find a way to throw that word into the podcast, and I did. Bing, bing. So spatchcock, if you don't know what that means, it's where you remove the spine, and then you crack the breastplate to make it nice and flat. So for those of you that are still listening and not grossed out by that image, let's dive into the personal development podcast, Jordan. That is nothing to do with cooking or anything else that you've already said today. All right, let's break into this episode. I am just excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited that you're here. And by the end of this, you are going to be amped and ready to do the task. And today, that task is writing down your goals. I know it wouldn't be a personal development podcast without talking about goal setting or doing something with your goals. But with that being said, do you know that only 3% of people actually write down their goals, physically write them down on a piece of paper? They have them hung up somewhere where they can see them daily, weekly, whatever that goal is. Only 3% of the population actually physically writes down their goal. So for this week, short and sweet, what do I want your one thing to be? I want your one thing to be to write down a goal that can be accomplished either every day or by this time next week. So when we listen to the 22nd episode of What is Your One Thing, you have completed your task. You have written down your goal. Either once, it was your weekly goal, and then you've kept looking at it. Each day, you wrote it down. Now it's Monday, you write that goal down. Tuesday, you continue to write down that goal and have it somewhere at work, at home, on the fridge, on the bathroom mirror, somewhere where you can physically see it. Another staggering stat is that of those 3% of people that write down their goals, about 42% of them actually achieve it. Now, those are crazy, crazy figures. So now take this, only 3% of the population actually writes down their goal. So now you could be in that 3%. You could be in the top 3% of something. I've never personally been in the top 3% of anything, but I'm going to when I start writing down my goals. That is already a cool feeling. Now, how cool is it that you almost have a 50-50? We're feeling optimistic today. We're taking that 42, we're bumping it up to 50. You have a 50-50 shot of actually obtaining that goal just by writing it down. Now let's make this something realistic. We want to make this something measurable, something obtainable, maybe something a bit of a stretch, but we want to start somewhere. Because again, I'm going to assume of those 6 that actually listen to this show, I'm going to put us in that 97% that do not write down our goals. So for this week, I want you to write down a goal. Something that you can either do every day. As an example, my goal for this week is that I am going to hit 160 grams of protein every day. I'm getting ready for my powerlifting competition. I've talked about that in past episodes, but that is coming up in about 6-ish weeks. So I really want to start prioritizing my protein intake. I know that one goal is now going to create a bunch of parameters that are going to be really good for my life for the next 6 weeks. 160 grams of protein per day. Shout out Mind Pump Podcast. All right, if you don't listen to them, you definitely should go do it for all of your exercise and health-related topics. Okay, back to the show. That 160 grams of protein is now going to make sure that I meal prep. I'm meal prepping, which means I'm no longer struggling to figure out what needs to be made for lunch. What should we make for dinner? All of that is front loaded just by setting this one goal. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to hang it on the fridge. I'm going to put it in my phone. I'm going to have it in a bunch of places because I want that top of mind every day, all week. I'm going to hit 160 grams of protein every day. Okay. Why? They say you should be doing about 1 gram of protein per target body weight. That's just what I want to stay at for the competition. Therefore, I want to have 160 grams. All right. 1 gram per pound of target body weight. That is my goal. That is clear cut. That is measurable. That's trackable. There is plenty of apps. There's plenty of ways for me to do that. I can work backwards from that goal, which is ideal. Having something that you can break down into smaller chunks, smaller steps. So when you're thinking about a goal, maybe something that you can break down, hey, you want to do X by the end of the week. What are the steps that you need to have done by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to ensure that you have that done by Friday? Okay. That was really fast. But that's it. That's all I want you to do. There are so many good things that will come out of setting this one goal that it'll open up your mind to the possibilities, the potential for everything else. I believe it's Henry Ford that said, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. Because what it comes down to is mindset. When we have negative self-talk or we tell ourselves we can't do something or we're not good at something, we are just reinforcing that belief that creates that negative cycle. Well, you know what? It didn't happen. I knew it wouldn't happen. I said I couldn't do it and I didn't do it. So therefore I'm right. When we are looking at setting these goals, we want to take that vocabulary out of our mind. Don't think about it as in you can or you can't. Think about it in as you will. You will. I will do this. Put that thought into your mind because what you think becomes reality. Now, that may sound a little woohoo, that may sound a little out there, but try to put yourself in the best state. Let's just say it is woohoo. It's not hurting you by having a more positive mindset. And if it works, great. We want to set yourself up for success. I want you to be successful in hitting this goal, whatever it is. That is what I want you to work on this week. I'm going to work on it. You're going to work on it. And next week, we're going to chat about it. I would love to hear from you at what's your one thing at gmail.com. That's the words, what's your, the number one, and the word thing at gmail.com. Send me your goal. If you hear this, tell me, hey, Jordan, I need an accountability buddy. Great. I'd love to be your accountability buddy. That's a lot to say. Back-to-back accountability buddy. I would love to be your accountability buddy. Doing pretty well. All right. I'd love it. Send me an email. What is your goal? I'm going to lose a pound this week, or I'm going to eat clean for the week. Whatever it is, just pick something and just write it down. This is going to keep it top of mind and keep you focused on it. What I'd like you to actually do is write it down in the morning, write it down at night. So twice. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I would like you to try. Because, again, it's going to be the first thing you think about in the morning. It's going to be the last thing you think about when you go to sleep. That will keep you on track, theoretically, hypothetically, to obtaining that goal. So try to pick something that you can do every day or within a week, and we're going to circle back, and we're going to see how you did. Okay, that's it. Told you it was going to be short and sweet. That was a lot of rambling for short and sweet, but... Okay, I'm feeling good. I hope you're feeling good, and we're jazzed. We're going to write down our goals. We're going to be in that 3% people, and then we're going to be in that 42% that just absolutely nail it, achieve it, and can move on to the next thing, and the next thing, and then before you know it, you're president. Yeah, this is how these things work. You start writing down your goals, and you achieve big things. Okay. Ooh, on a unrelated note, I've been getting some questions on why I put little segments of my daughters either at the end or kind of in the podcast. So there's these little either audio bits or there's a video at the end that I've started to do of past clips that I've accumulated. Now, a big focus when it comes to doing anything, so again, sticking to a goal, is knowing your why. Why are you doing something? Having a strong why reinforces you to stick through it when things get tough. For example, my why on why I do this podcast is, one, I want to just have an outlet to express all of the things that I've learned about self-development, personal development, self-help over the last 6 or so years. If you can't teach something, did you really learn it? That's kind of my thought process. So I am trying to reinforce my own learning by trying to teach others. I think everybody should learn about personal development, or just how to better yourself, have better emotional intelligence, better social awareness, just all of these things that come with building your own personal development. I think everybody should learn those. The second reason is a little selfish. I would love to build an archive of my personal thoughts, reflections, things I thought about in the present moment that my family, particularly my kids and even my grandkids, hopefully one day, can actually go back and listen to. In the way the world is going with AI and all this crazy technology, they're actually being able to extrapolate all this data, all of these podcasts from different people, and create things that have never happened. Or, for instance, I think they did a Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs interview, and it just took all of the interviews they've done throughout their entire lives and built, this episode. Well, how cool would it be for my kids to go back and ask a question like, hey, what does my dad think about dealing with, depression or something? Or my grandkids go, I wonder what my thought about growth mindset, or who knows, whatever they're thinking at that time. And hopefully I'll have just an archive of data of thousands of episodes or thousands of hours of me just spewing out what I've learned, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, that they can actually talk to me through this new technology that will probably exist or already does exist. And that just makes me so happy. That is just so cool. I wish I could watch videos of my grandpa playing with my dad as a kid, or my grandma and my mom, and have that connection through time, through this technology, and on top of that, be able to communicate with them. That is beyond cool. That is beyond my wildest dreams. So that is why I do this. I put in little segments of them so that when they grow older, or anyone in my family or my grandkids, they can see it. They can be like, oh my God, that was my mom at 4 years old. And that's her playing with grandpa and being an airplane, or pretending there's werewolves, or talking about life and just gazing up at the clouds. That makes me so happy. It's getting a little emotional. Yeah. So that is my why. And that's why I'm going to continue to come in here and just try to be better than who I was last week, be better than who I was yesterday, and just grow and be a good human being and do good things for the world. Okay, I'm going to go now before I cry. All right. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope you come back next week and tell me about your goal. Okay, peace out. Hi, baby. Are you happy?
Happy.
You're happy?
Happy.
Yeah, happy baby. Happy shoe. Wee. Wee.
No.